Here at Amplified, we love our HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. The culture, the heritage, and the black excellence that's fostered on those campuses reflects the pride and promise of our communities. But our students and campuses may be at risk. More than a dozen HBCUs reported bomb threats yesterday. Howard University, Jackson State, Kentucky State, Xavier, and others all eventually issued all-clear statements throughout the day. These incidents add to a rapidly growing number of schools reporting threats in 2022 and a scary trend leaving HBCU students and staff across the country unnerved. And of course, we know it's nothing new for black institutions to face intimidation and even violence. We saw scores of black churches torched in the 90s, which ultimately led to congressional action addressing that peril. So what do we do to protect our college students, respond to threats, and prevent acts of extremism? Joining me now to help us get a handle on this is Professor Brian Levin, Director of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino. Professor Levin, welcome to Amplified. The big update today is that the FBI identified 6 minors as persons of interest in these threats. Reports say they are tech-savvy. They disguised where the threats were coming from and that their motivations are rooted in racism. What's your reaction?
My reaction is this is a terrible thing. And we saw an explosion of hate crimes, particularly against African Americans in 2020. And all the stereotypes and hatreds are moving over into 2021 and probably 2022, although the labels might be different. Earlier in 2020, BLM and black socialists and Antifa are trying to ruin the country. Then it was black folks stole the election. Now it's black folks are undermining education with critical race theory and all that kind of garbage. The bottom line is when a group is stereotyped, that invites other stereotypes and conspiracy theories from people who are already open to accepting it, and it's been mainstreamed. And African Americans continue to be the most targeted population for hate crime in the United States. One other interesting fact. In 2020, we had an inflection point. Just bear with me. In 96, when we had a record for racial hate crimes, 42% of all hate crimes in the United States of any kind were directed against African Americans. We had a multi-decade decline through 2019, where it went down to 26%. It rocketed up to the mid-30s in 2020. So we're seeing these stereotypes actually translate into violence on the streets. One other quick thing. We just got Chicago, and listen to this. 4 of the top 10 cities, and at least the top 3, New York, LA, Chicago, for all hate crimes, hit 21st century highs in 2021. And in most of the cities, it was African American. But in New York, for instance, it wasn't. It was Jews, and we actually saw a decline. But in Los Angeles, anti-black hate crimes almost doubled from the upper 70s to just under 150. San Francisco up. So this is a problem that we really have to address. And one of the things I think we have to be concerned about that goes back into what you were saying in the last segment with Representative Bush is now the talk about an African-American female on the Supreme Court. Let me tell you something. As someone whose mentor was an African-American federal appellate court judge, this is a wonderful thing. You know how many black people were appointed to federal appellate courts in the last administration? 0. And what's happening now is when we have this kind of derisive stereotyping, it ends up having reverberations downstream. So whatever the debate's going to be about the Supreme Court, can we not race bait on it? Because I bet you that there are folks in my law school class who are African-American women who would make wonderful Supreme Court justices, including Michelle Alexander, who wrote The New Jim Crow.
So, Brian, you said a whole lot that I want to break down, but you're really alluding to something here about hate being at the core of all of this. And I want you to just kind of make it plain for us, like how hate is really, and the rhetoric, you know, you just highlighted what so many people are saying. Oh, my goodness, we're rolling our eyes because we're already seeing an entire organized campaign to use racial stereotypes and epithets and all kind of things to try to derail a black woman as a Supreme Court justice, not even having picked one. There's not even a name that is out there, but just in terms of stereotypes. So talk to us about the way that this rise in hate has happened right under our noses and been mainstreamed in the last several years.
What an excellent point. Listen to this. First, let me give you kind of the final answer first. When we look at the worst days for hate crimes in recent years and the worst months, they often revolved around politics. Anti-African American hate crimes in 2008 peaked at 2 times, right before President Obama was going to get the nomination and right before he won the election. The worst day for hate crime, going back 13 years, was the day after election in 2016. You want to go further? October 2018, up to that time, was the second worst hate month of the decade, according to disaggregated FBI data, which we parse. And then, listen to this, December 2019 had the worst day for hate crime that year, the day when the newspapers announced impeachment would go forward. So these stereotypes, which have now been mainstreamed into politics and on the online cauldron of bigotry, have downriver effects. And it's time that we stop this, and it's time that we pass some more hate crime legislation, both federally and at the states. And that's what I want to say real quick. If we're log jammed at the federal level, let's go back to the states. I'm going around the country trying to encourage better laws and better reporting. And one other quick thing. Those of us who love the African American community and who have been part of that beloved community, like myself, who the first president that hired me to college, African American woman, my mentor, an African American federal judge. People of goodwill in the United States stand with you, and our center's not going to stop until we get results.
Well, we appreciate that. I have 2 more minutes with you, and I want to come back to this because I mentioned the 1990s church bombings earlier, and that wave of arsons led to Congress passing the Church Arson Prevention Act, which increased the sentence for arson at a house of worship to a maximum of 20 years. You're talking about policy and legislation, etc. Back then, President Clinton also launched a national church arson task force. I'm curious, could similar policy be implemented to protect HBCUs or other institutions, and what might that look like?
You know, we have federal laws that apply to universities and colleges. So there's already laws in the books with that. I'd be happy to see them strengthened if we could do it in some meaningful way. But I think with that, we need to have better enforcement. And for people who do this kind of garbage, they need to go to prison. One other quick thing, I've been in this business so long, I was involved not only in doing research and working for that act, but subsequent changes to that. So I think for now, let's start enforcing the laws. And just real quickly, with the church arsons, really interesting. Not everyone that did them was bigots. We saw ranges from people who were in the Klan to people who were softer bigots to people who adhered to stereotypes but weren't hardcore. And we also saw people who were just doing burglaries and other things. So there's an array of offenders that have different motivations and different depths of prejudice. And we have to make sure that we don't put into jail people who can be reformed. But the bottom line is, we don't have a lot of prosecutions to begin with. So let's focus on protecting the African American community and other communities in this country who are suffering so much from this scourge of hate crime. In percentages, listen to this. 13% of Americans, 13% of Americans, African American, 36% of hate crimes in 2020. Targeted African Americans. You can go by the statistics all the way through many social and other types of social science factors, whether it's COVID deaths, whether it's access to community help. We need to make this a top priority and not have a debate about having an exceptional Supreme Court African American justice be used and manipulated to further foment bigotry. It's disgusting.
There it is. All right, Brian Levin, director of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino. Thank you so much for bringing the fire here tonight on Amplified. We appreciate you.